Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. And today I ate $16 worth of Taco Bell, and I deeply regret it. That was part of our annual $20 Taco Bell challenge, of which I will never attempt again because it is just not worth it. But my friend did eat $21 worth of Taco Bell, and we think he might have a tapeworm. Anyways, today on Hanging with Mangg, we're going to play some Super Nintendo. And this that you're looking at right now, this is part of RetroPie, which is kind of I guess it's an operating system technically, or something like that. Or I guess Emulation Station is the operating, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know how it all works, but this is on a Raspberry Pi, which is a single board computer that you can pick up for like $40. And you get it all together. There are guides on the internet to putting this all together. It's pretty damn simple. You pick up like an SNES USB controller or a Super Nintendo USB controller. I'm using the iBuffalo Classic USB gamepad, which looks exactly like the Super Nintendo controller, except for a turbo and a clear button, but never mind that. And then you just load up a bunch of emulators and games onto the Raspberry Pi, and you get this nice interface, and it's pretty much better than the NES Classic in every single way. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, yeah, we'll just go through and we'll play some random Super Nintendo games I've never played before, because I never, whatever. Like Dino City, I've never played it. Let's check it out. All right, so this week on the channel, this channel, we started up, this is SimCity. No, I have to fix some naming. Well, I'm not going to play SimCity. I started up Resident Evil 7, and I'm playing it in the dark with headphones on. So I'm doing the maximum scariness, except for the fact that I'm talking to myself while I do it. I think that is a big factor. I feel like even if I wasn't recording it, I might just talk to myself anyways. It really helps hearing the sound of my own voice. I mean, some people are saying Resident Evil 7 is not that scary. And I think like the first hour or so is probably where they get the most scares. And I think now where I'm at in the game, it starts to lessen up a little bit, because you do have a shotgun. It just seems like an overall less creepy atmosphere compared to the first hour, when you're just going into this house and there's really nothing there, but there seems like there could be something anywhere, and you do like the video thing to spoil stuff, I guess. There's some creepy moments in the first hour, but it's been all right. It's been all right. I'm not hating the game, so we will keep playing some more Resident Evil 7. I guess this is the sequel to Milon's Secret Castle. It's crazy. Nice. I kind of put a hold on, yeah, I don't think any Legend of Mana. There was no Zelda. Oh, now I'm blue and I have a bowling ball. I think I, like, changed, what? How many bowling balls do I get? Just the one? Why would you give me one bowling ball? How am I supposed to know? Anyways, put a big hold on games, and on Thursday, it might have been Thursday, I think, yes, I did a video for the For Honor beta, which is actually a pretty cool game. I'm wondering if I could talk anybody I know into buying it to play some. It's tough because, you know, I play video games very little with my friends. Mostly we play board games. That's... okay. And if we do play video games, it's gonna be like a $10 or so Steam title, you know? It's just gonna be something very cheap and still entertaining, because there's a lot of good indies or cheap budget titles on Steam. We all know this. So to convince them to buy a brand new $60 title, it's really tough, because we've been burned, we've all been burned many times on the promise of us all playing a big new game together, and we play it for like a day and then it goes away. It's just so much easier to do a $10 game, and then it's like, oh well. I don't know, that's a tough sell. Other than that, I haven't been playing much on my own. I've been doing some Super Nintendo stuff, because I've been enjoying this retro pie type thing. But I haven't really been playing any major games on my own. I started playing Black Desert again, just because I was like, oh, Black Desert, that was a cool game. Why did I stop playing that? There's so much going for that game as far as positives. Like, it should be like the greatest MMO out there on the planet, but it's hampered by just polish, I guess. It's just, I don't know, there's just this like veneer to it that just doesn't mesh well as far as the UI design and the overall game design and stuff, but I do like it enough to just, you know, play it. I did buy it, and I can play it for like the rest of all eternity, I guess. So, whatever. But the funny thing is, I went back, I made a new character, I started playing, and I checked my mail. My mailbox. I had like 7 pages of mail from like the developers. And most of it was like gifts and stuff, like compensation for downtime and things like that, or certain events. But the biggest thing is, apparently, I don't even know what it is. I have no idea what it is, but it's like a house fame fund or something like. I have no idea what this means. But I open up the mail, and in the little item box is like 77 million silver pieces, which is an insane number compared to when I played, you know, before. I don't even know how much money I had before, but I doubt I had 1 million. I doubt that. So it's just so funny to just, I started playing, now I have 77 million gold, silver. And I also, for some reason, got like a gold ingot, which is worth 100 million or something like that. Like, it's just insane. Or 10 million, something like that. So I don't know. So now I'm just a very wealthy man. And I looked it up, and other people were saying somewhat similar things, that they came back after a long absence, and for some reason this house fame fund like just continued to accumulate even though they weren't playing, and so it just racked up insane numbers. And it sounded like I had like the highest amount of anybody talking about it though, so I don't know how it happened. I really suck at platforming. So anyways, that's what's been going on with that. On Tuesday, Nioh, I'm going to call it Nioh until I hear otherwise, Nioh comes out, which is like that samurai Dark Souls game I was mentioning. So I will commence an LP of that, which means that, yes, certain things will get pushed around, and we'll get back to some things eventually. The biggest offender that I just plain forgot about was my top 10 board games of 2017 or whatever. I think it would be 2017. You know, my yearly top 10 board game list. I try to do it every January, and January is running out. So that might be tomorrow. I think it's like the second last day of January. Over on the Exploring series, the Artifacts of Middle-earth video will be public tomorrow. Damn it. I thought this was a decent video of my own reckoning. Yeah, I mentioned the major weapons of Middle-earth. There's not really many armor to talk about, other than the mithril shirt. I talk about the Palantiri. I talk about the White Tree of Gondor, which some people might not be expecting. And then really just for my sister, I talk about Shadowfax, because she's a very big horse person, and her, like, favorite thing about the entire Lord of the Rings films is Shadowfax. And she was just, like, when I first started, she was like, oh, are you going to talk about Shadowfax? And I'm like, I don't know where I would fit that in. And I was like, you know what? Artifacts of Middle-earth, sure, let's fit it in. Yeah. So that's pretty solid. It means we have 2 more to go. One is the timeline of Middle-earth, which covers from the beginning of the timeline, as just big summaries, all the way up to the end of the War of the Ring. Because I know some people are interested in that, and it could probably just be a generally helpful thing to a lot of people. And that's what I'm all about. And then finally we end it with Tom Bombadil, which is, I'm sure, a very highly interested subject. Gotten plenty of requests for the Tom Bombadil video. So that will end it all off. And then we'll do the Q&A with Ziggy. And then we will move on. I got a message from a guy. I doubt he's watching this, but I got a message from a guy who was very upset to hear that I was ending the series, and he was desperately hoping that I would reconsider. What is even happening here? Okay. And he gave me a list of topics that I could make videos on. If I wanted to keep the series going. And some of it was like, okay, stuff that I would expect. Like the fall of Gondolin, or the downfall of Numenor, you know, or just Numenor in general, I didn't really ever make a video of. But then some shit just got so obscure in Middle-earth history. Like, I've never heard of it. I'm pretty sure I never came across any of these subjects while I was doing all my research for this whole series. So I don't even know what they are. But he was like, oh, you could discuss this and this. And I'm like, are you? I think he's just making up names. I don't know what's going on. No, I'm sure it exists, but I have no idea what I could even say about it. You know, people want me to talk about, like, the Blue Wizards more. They want me to make a whole video on the Blue Wizards. It's like, what the hell do you want me to say? But that's exactly like Cthulhu Mythos, so. Like, a guy requested a video for Cthulhu Mythos that was, like, the only mention of it was in, like, a French Call of Cthulhu adventure. That was, like, the only mention this name has ever been seen. And he wanted me to make a video on it. It's just like, I guess some people just don't understand how little information there is about certain things. They just hear it mentioned and they're like, oh, I want to hear more about that. And I guess I can admire that because I have the same kind of mentality about a lot of things. And I might say, well, you know, they could just look it up and answer their own question. But if everybody looked stuff up, I would have many less viewers. So, okay, fine. I'll be fine with that. But, yeah, so I think that will all be good stuff. Alright, moving on then. Board gaming. I did not do any board gaming on Monday because, you know, we did Warhammer instead. But we had a lot of board gaming this week. A lot of it. On Thursday, four of us helped Ziggy move a piano into his home. It wasn't like a grand piano or anything. It was not a huge one, but it still weighed quite a bit. And I did a lot of the heavy lifting, so my back was just messed up the next day. I just laid in bed and watched a playthrough of Alien Isolation. But then afterwards, we played some Skull, and then we played Age of Discovery. Because I didn't know, really, that it was a board gaming event. I guess I didn't realize that. I was just going to move the piano and then go home. But apparently it was a board gaming thing, and I didn't bring any. So we had to stick with what he had, and what he mostly has is Age of Discovery. This is kind of an interesting game, to be honest. And I've said before that I'm just not a huge fan. They wanted to play it, and so I figured, okay, what the hell. I'm not going to argue too much against any game, unless it's Pandemic. But now, when I play Age of Discovery, I really don't play to win. not excessively. I'm not like, oh man, I gotta win. It's not like Cosmic Encounter or something. I just play to get the most money. That's my goal, and I think I succeeded this time. I tied for last place, so I could have done way worse. But me and Studs, who tied, both did terribly, so it wasn't big. And Ziggy won, of course, and that's just kind of that. On Friday, we had, man, there's a lot of text for an action shooting game. On Friday, we did family game night, and we played Raw. I feel like I didn't even discuss this last week. I have no memory of mentioning Raw last week, but we played Raw last week. Yeah, so this is our second week of playing Raw. No, okay, I'm not supposed to do that. Am I supposed to grab these? No, I'm gonna die. I'm a better pilot because I just got hit a bunch. Raw is an auctioning game with a minimal theme. And pretty much you're just going around and around the table pulling tiles out of a bag and putting them on the board. And at certain points, whether voluntarily or sometimes involuntarily, you're going to start an auction for all the tiles that are on the board. And it's kind of like set collection. All the tiles are somewhat different, and you want different types of tiles for different purposes to get victory points and so on and so forth. And so there's different demands for different people for different tiles, blah, blah, blah. And the auctioning system is pretty interesting, where you only can win 3 auctions per round before you kind of reset. And every time you win an auction, you get to take the auction number that's in the middle. And so everything kind of balances out a little bit and blah, 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 blah. But overall, it's a good game. It's a classic auctioning game. Very well known in the board gaming circles. And it had been out of print for a while until it got reprinted by, I want to say, Fantasy Flight, who completely overcharges for it and blah, 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 blah. But they like it, and I like it, so there you have it. And then we played Quadropolis, which I bought at Gen Con along with Ra, and I still hadn't played. And Quadropolis is kind of a gateway-esque game for families. Very colorful stuff. And I figure why not bust it out? Shouldn't be too tough. And it wasn't that tough to learn. It's got a surprising amount of like strategy in it. As in, you can really vary in how well you do based on, you know, how you play throughout the game. Like, I think I won with like 49 points, and my sister did the worst with 17 points, so there's a pretty big variance there. Pretty cool game, actually. As far as gateway games go, Chinatown is still the king. It's going to be hard for that to be topped for me. But Quadropolis, pretty cool. I'd rather play Quadropolis than Catan. Let's put it that way. Or Ticket to Ride. Then yesterday... No, we're not done with board gaming, don't worry. Yesterday, we put together a board game event. Mostly for Mert, who has 2 kids. One of them is autistic. And so he's kind of the stay-at-home dad. He's busy pretty much constantly. He really only has time to play online at like 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So there's that. And he almost never has time to do anything in real life. And so I told him, like, whenever you have a free day and you want to put together a board game thing, you know, we can see if it happens. And so we did that yesterday. Started at like 3 o'clock. We ended at 12:30. Mert left at like 6 or 6:30. So he was only there for half of it. Why does this game seem really easy so far? We started with Cosmic Encounter. Only playing the new aliens. They came out with Cosmic Eons, which is the newest expansion, and all the aliens in there are like the most complicated, most complex ones, pretty much. For the most part, they really try to vary up the gameplay with these aliens. So we did only those aliens. The game took 2.5 hours, and it was probably the craziest game of Cosmic Encounter I've ever played. Like, I went from having 4 colonies and being close to winning to going down to 0 colonies in a single move. There were planets being, like, colliding. They were colliding, they were combined, and one guy was playing the Anarchist, and he was, like, changing the rules of the game so you could send in as much ships as you want, or you could pick who you want to fight, and there was just all sorts of insanity going on. And I was playing the Evil Twin, who, like, when he's the main player, he can give a token to another person, and, like, any form of loss or effect that happens to you during that encounter happens to the person you gave the token to instead. So just all the shit happens to them instead of you. It's great. I just gave it to Mert every time. No, not quite, but close. It just once again proved that Cosmic is the best game ever designed. I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say about your favorite board game. You're wrong. It's Cosmic Encounter. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Very excellent. And we didn't even do, like, the hidden alien stuff or anything like that. We just did straight up Cosmic with the new aliens. And it was crazy. Do that. I can block, I guess. Just checking those moves. Ow. Then we played Seven Wonders because we were looking for a shorter game. Seven Wonders can go very quickly if everyone knows what they're doing and everyone moves at a crisp pace. Seven Wonders can be very quick. We played it in like half an hour. And it was a lot of fun. I really like Seven Wonders. I should bring it out more. It's just a quality-made game that's entertaining. And I own, I think, at least 2 expansions. I've never once played with them. But, yeah, it's a good game. Then we got some Panda Express, which is always delicious. And we came back, and we're like, we had 4 people. looking for a game to play, I just like, you know, pick whatever you want. Pick whatever you want. I was leaning towards Sentinels in the Multiverse, but I said pick whatever. They settled on Catacombs, which I thought was an interesting choice. I was happy about it because I had never played it, and it's been sitting on the shelf for a long time. But Catacombs is a one versus all game, kind of like Descent. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like Descent or Dungeons and Dragons combat, but everything is settled by flicking discs. So using your finger to flick discs across a board. Which sounds a little stupid, but damn is that fun. We played it twice in a row, and I just couldn't get enough of it, man. It was so good. It was so good. I think it helps that I'm good at flicking. If you really suck at flicking, you're not gonna like it because you're just gonna fuck up all your shots, and you're either gonna really suck as the overseer, or you're just gonna ruin everything for your team, and it's not gonna be good. But if everyone playing the game is somewhat competent at flicking discs across a board, that is a ton of fun, man. Because, you know, they're playing all these different heroes that have different abilities, and they can buy items and stuff like that, and they really have to strategize together for how they arrange their shots and how they arrange their moves. And then the Overseer has all these collections of different monsters he gets to pick from, and they all have kind of different stats and abilities and shots and stuff, and yeah, it's great. I want to play more Catacombs. I want the expansion. I gotta order the expansion. I played it twice, but I want it. So that was from 3 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. And it was a great day of board gaming. Cosmic Counter, Seven Wonders, Panda Express, and some Catacombs? Come on now. Come on now. That's a good Saturday. Yeah. So that's that. I think tomorrow I might bring out El Grande. Because today I had an El Grande meal at Taco Bell. So tomorrow we can play the El Grande Big Box. Why not? I have it. Might as well. So that was board gaming for the week. Warhammer. Let us discuss Warhammer. I think during that Warhammer session on Monday, I have never laughed harder during an RPG session. I can't really remember a time where I laughed that hard. I was like crying. So they were heading out of Altdorf, the capital city. They were somewhat running from the law, and they were heading on their way to Bogan Hoppin to try and do this scam, I guess, this deception, where they impersonate a Caster Lieberung in order to collect 20,000 gold crowns as inheritance, as well as an estate. And they met up with this man, Joseph, who they pretty much trusted. And he set them out of Altdorf on the Weissbruck River. And last time they were being approached by a group of road wardens who were staring right at them. And the whole point of that encounter is just to make them do something really stupid. But fortunately, they kept a level head and did nothing, and everything was fine. They continued on, and they ended up in Weissbruck to stop over for a night. And not much happened in the city. They didn't really spend any time in the city, because right when they arrived, they noticed that the creepy guy who apparently murdered some people in front of them with a crossbow and was following them, was watching them from one of the inns. So they went over to the inn. He ran inside. They went in. They couldn't see him, and they found out that he kind of slipped out the back door. They decided that they didn't want to look for this guy, which seemed a little odd to me, but okay. The campaign prepares for this. Campaign is pretty good. It kind of prepares for all these types of things. So they decide, you know what? We'll see him again eventually. I think that's almost exactly what they said. There's no point to look for him, so let's go back to the boat and hit the hay. And not only do they all hit the hay immediately, they don't even set a guard or a watch or tell Joseph or nothing. They're just like, nah, we'll worry about it later, and they just go to bed. This seemed extraordinarily stupid to me. But, who am I to say? And so at some point, Ziggy gets up and he goes to take a piss. In game, I mean. Not out of game. And so he's on the deck of the boat, and he's just taking a piss, and he's looking around, and he fails his perception check, so he doesn't see anything, and a crossbow bolt grazes his skull. So he takes a bunch of damage, and he hits the floor. And he crawls back into the ship, and he's like yelling, and he's like, we're being attacked, we're being attacked. And that's when the ship starts getting flooded with smoke. So they're thinking they're trying to burn down the boat, which is pretty much the case. And so, Jesus, there's a lot of talking in this game. Holy shit. See, no wonder I've never heard of this game. You can't have this much talking in an action shooting game, even if it's kind of cool. And I apparently could go to a shop and get new guns or something like that. I don't know. But apparently I have experience. What is this? So they all rush above deck, up on deck, and they encounter 3 thugs and the guy from before with the crossbow. So he's on shore just firing away with his crossbow, and the 3 thugs are trying to throw like Molotov cocktails. What the hell? Huh, this is weird. They're so tiny and pixelated. So they're trying to throw Molotov cocktails onto the boat in order to burn it down. And so the fight begins. And I didn't really even think about it at the time. Not really. But we did the entire fight, which took a little while. We did it without miniatures whatsoever. We did it entirely with theater of the mind, which didn't affect too much, and I don't think they begrudged the lack of accuracy. And I think it went pretty well. Not that every fight will be done without miniatures, but for that one, it seemed like it worked okay. And so basically, they pretty much butchered one of the thugs. They pushed another one. They injured another one and pushed him into the river. And then one ran away. And then they knocked out the main guy, who's a bounty hunter. Now, the campaign was very explicit. I'm not supposed to allow this guy to be captured in any way. I am supposed to manipulate the critical roll, the critical hit chart, which they don't get to see, mind you. I'm supposed to manipulate that and fudge it, and so he just dies. Apparently, I forgot about this, and so he got knocked out. I think, yeah, we also instituted kind of a mercy rule, I guess. By the official rules, you're not dead until you take a certain high crit that says that you're dead. But we decided that if you take like 3 or 4 crits and you're just like being macerated, you know, proverbially, you're pretty much dead and we'll just count you out. This is in addition to the unconscious rule, which is if you get hit to 0 HP, you have to roll toughness, otherwise you might fall unconscious, which can pretty much take you out of the fight. This didn't happen to this guy. He just kind of got knocked out because he failed his toughness roll. So the mercy thing didn't come into play. And so, yeah, I should have fudged it, but I forgot about it. And so they kidnapped him, and I'm like, he's going to bleed out in 30 minutes. That would be your guess. Now, fortunately... Okay, so this is what happened. This is what... I'm gonna pause. This is what happened. So they finished the fight. Everybody's kind of done and knocked out and all these things like that. And so they point to Phil, and they're like, you know, take care of that thug over there. You know, take care of him. Or they say something like that. And so he goes over to it, he lifts up the body, and he chucks it straight into the river. He doesn't loot it, none of that. He just chucks it straight into the river. And I'm just like, he did it. Like, you can't, nope, he did it. It's done. They didn't loot him, nothing. He didn't have much on him. He had like 6 gold crowns or something like that. But they're strapped for cash as is. And he could have had like a magic ring or something. You know, he could have something crazy on him. And he just chucked him in the river. So Phil was at 0 HP at this point. And so Ziggy walks over to him. He backhands him. And Phil fails his toughness roll. And so he gets knocked unconscious. Normally this would just be ha 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 for them. And we would all just laugh it off and be done. But Phil's character is the only one trained in heal. And so he's the only one that could bandage up this bounty hunter so that they could get information out of him before he dies. But since he was knocked out and he couldn't be reawakened, because I decided you can only really try and awaken somebody up after they're unconscious from 0 HP if you have heal. So they were shit out of luck, and the guy died. And we moved on. So I guess my ass got saved a little bit there. I didn't have to fudge it too hard. So anyways, they don't get much information out of this guy other than they find out that this guy was looking for Castor Lieberung, who is part of some sort of organization where he has the title Magister Impedimenti. And that's pretty much all the info they got. So somebody is, you know, other people are asking around about Castor Lieberung. So they'll have to keep a better eye. I hope they learned a bit of a lesson there, but who knows? Who knows? Anyways, they moved on to Bogan Hoppin. And at this point, I had not read the second arc of the campaign. I had only read the first section, Mistaken Identity, which brings them up to this point. I had not read Shadows over Bogan Hoppin, which was the second section. So I was going into this fairly blind, and I was basically reading stuff as they were playing, which is not how you want to do anything. But so they get to Bogan Hoppin, they talk to Joseph, he's got stuff to do, so they say bye to him, and they kind of discuss what they want to do. Obviously, they're here to get the 20,000 gold crowns, right? And now they don't know, obviously, but I know at this point, and I'll tell you, that this whole thing, it's entirely bullshit. There's no 20,000 gold crowns, there's no estate, there's no inheritance, there's none of that. It's all been made up in order to entrap Castor Lieberung. This was all set up by the bounty hunter that just died. Well, I have a lightsaber? What the hell? This is crazy. Japanese games. It's crazy. So, they don't know any of that, but yeah. So there's the law offices that are listed on the letter, they don't exist. The printing company that is listed on there does exist, so they can look into that if they think of it. But other than that, they're just going to be really disappointed. But there's going to be other stuff going on very soon. I don't know if they'll ever even ask about the inheritance after the next session. So eventually they decide they're going to just try and get info at the fair. They're going to go around the fair and see what's going on. Because the big fair, the Schaffenfest, the Sheep Festival, is going on. It's got all sorts of stuff happening. So they go and check it out. And so I pretty much just went down the list of encounters at Schaffenfest in the book and just read it to them, and we just did it. And there's a lot of fun to be had at Schaffenfest before all the bad shit starts happening. Because next session, bad shit is going to happen. But, are you kidding me? So they go to Schaffenfest. The first thing they run into is the livestock auction. So there's a bunch of farmers, and they're part of this auction for cows, pigs, sheep, so on and so forth. And it says in the book, while they're at the livestock auction, that the auctioneer running the thing misinterprets like some subtle movement from one of the players, and thinks that they're thinks that they're making a bid. So I picked Phil because I figured he would contest it the least. And what number? I think it was it was 5, I think. Maybe. I think it was 5. 5 gold crowns. So the auctioneer points to Phil, and he's like, oh, 5 gold crowns, 5 gold crowns, 5 gold. Do I got 5.5? Do I got 5.5? 5 gold crowns, going once, going twice, sold to the dwarf. And so Phil, unfortunately, was forced to buy a ram for 5 gold crowns, which came out of his own pocket. So that's pretty funny. So now he has a ram, and he has to do something with. The ram will probably get killed at some point. They named it Rammstein, I think. That's a cool move. Ooh, that is sweet. Shit. Damn, that's sweet. So they moved on. They moved on to like a wrestling arena. And again, it's just some kind of unfortunate business happened where they got Thomas got pulled into the fight against this muscle-bound freak to fight for 3 minutes. And if you fight for 3 minutes and you're still up, you're still standing, you get paid 5 gold crowns. If you beat the guy, you get 10 gold crowns. And so they got into a fight. What's weird about it is that the book states that the person just gets pulled into it. Very unexpectedly, they just put into the arena and they're fighting. And they didn't have to pay like an entrance fee. They don't have to put up any money, so I don't know what the person gets out of it. Other than maybe a percentage of bets going on. Perhaps there was a betting thing I didn't mention. That could have been a logical thing. But I feel like the odds are so in the favor of the burly guy that I don't know how that would really work. And they didn't take off the armor. They didn't take off any of the contestants' armor. So this guy, the burly guy, was fighting just, bare-chested, bare-knuckle. And Thomas goes in wearing like a male shirt and like a helmet. Ooh, that was damn cool. So, yeah, he was basically like this El Gigante guy. That's who he was fighting. This dude right here. So by all rights, yeah, he should have won. The big dude. But the armor made such a tremendous difference because his punches just couldn't penetrate this male armor. So it's really stupid. And so Thomas was a clearly worse fighter, and he did less damage, but the other guy just couldn't hurt him, whereas Thomas could hurt the guy. Thomas got wounded, he definitely did, but the fight lasted almost, it was like 2 minutes and 56 seconds when the fight ended. And the fight ended with me, I fudged this crit. I don't know why. I don't know. I wanted it to be spectacular other than just like you punch him in the head and he goes down. I wanted it to be something spectacular, but all the spectacular ones are like really serious. So I don't know what I was thinking, but in the end, it ended up being so good. So basically, Thomas like threw a punch, and this guy like dodged very poorly, and he ended up basically twisting around, and Thomas's punch ended up in his spine, which instantly shattered it, causing this guy to just crumble to the floor, paralyzed for the rest of his life. And God, I'm laughing about it now, man. It's just so good. So this random dude just gets dragged into this fight wearing full armor and like barely gets injured. And he ends up crippling permanently this guy whose entire purpose in life is to do these random street fights. And then Thomas got paid 10 gold crowns because he won. And then Phil used his healing ability, his heal skill, right after the fight, and Thomas was restored to full. And this guy is just left permanently paralyzed. And oh my God, I couldn't stop laughing at the whole concept of it. It was so freaking funny. And that's the great thing, is because I was worried that Warhammer would end up just being too grimdark and serious and stuff like that, but no, there's really no serious RPG unless your group is just really ridiculous. Most things are just going to end up being really freaking funny, and that was incredible. And they just walked off. They just went to the next thing, and this guy is just laying on the ground paralyzed, and he's just going to end up homeless and stuff. And oh man, it's so funny. So funny. So if you check out the stream, try to find that part. It's oh my God, I couldn't stop. So anyways, they moved on. They went to basically like a freak show. Well, the freak show didn't actually start for another hour, but they were checking out like the preparations when suddenly like this little three-legged goblin like escaped and started rushing towards them, and they managed to grab him and stop him. And so the guy paid them and was like, oh, thank you. Be sure to come back in an hour. It'll be much more professional then. And they moved on to like the courts. They have like a fair courts to settle any sort of grievances during the fair. So there wasn't much there, but there was a dwarf in the stocks outside of the tent, and he was just really pathetic. He was like this drunkard. He was smelly, and he was desperately pleading with them to give him a gold so he could be freed. He was just, please. He was just so pathetic and horrible sounding, but he was just so smelly and awful. So none of them gave him a gold crown, and they will regret it. No, probably not. I thought Phil would have, being a dwarf and being kind of a sap. I thought he would do it, but not even he gave the gold crown. Money is just so precious to them, I guess. They're willing to cripple a man for 10 gold crowns, but then won't give a gold crown to free an innocent dwarf. What a terrible group. It's great. Then they moved on to the jousts, which are really only for the nobles, so they were kind of shooed away. And that's pretty much where we ended, I think. Nothing else notable happened. It ended somewhat anticlimactically. It would make for a terrible television show ending. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, that was the hardest I've ever laughed, I think. Sweet. And I'm really looking forward to the next session, because next session is where we really start getting into the campaign, where things really start to amp up. So I'm hoping that they enjoy that they don't fuck up too bad. Not that I'm contemplating being done with Warhammer or anything like that. But I asked Ziggy like when he thought he might be ready to pick up DMing again, just so I could think about it and plan for that and stuff like that. And he said maybe March. And I said, I don't think I'll be done with Warhammer by March. Fingers crossed that I'll hold out for longer than March. But, you know, I gave him some food for thought. And I said that maybe at that point we'll all be a little burned out of fantasy after doing D&D and then Warhammer, and I've been covering Lord of the Rings and all that. Yeah, I'd like to move on to something a little different, maybe. What I would really like is for him to do Shadowrun. I think Shadowrun might just be my favorite RPG. If I did a top 5 RPGs, I think Shadowrun would be number 1. I love the setting so much. I just love cyberpunk a lot. The system, yeah, it's not perfect, but there is no perfect system. And just for all the potential that Shadowrun offers while still providing mechanics for everything in a somewhat coherent sense, yeah, I think Shadowrun's my favorite currently. So I'd really like for him to do that. But we'll see. You know, some people don't like Shadowrun. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is I saw XXX Return of Xander Cage this week. I did not have huge expectations for this film because it looked pretty stupid, but it looked like just crazy, wild action. I probably shouldn't. Yeah. And I was right. It's pretty wild, stupid action. And it's okay. Like, if you don't like the recent Fast and Furious movies, like, you will hate XXX. I think the person that enjoyed this movie the most is Vin Diesel. I think no one enjoyed XXX Return of Xander Cage more than Vin Diesel. It seemed like he just had a good time making the whole thing. And I don't know if it'll be financially successful. I doubt there will get a sequel or anything like that. But I think Vin Diesel had a great time making that film. And okay, that's fine. Good for him. Action movies are tricky nowadays. You know, we generally require either... Really, it hasn't changed that much, I guess. We either require good writing or really slick action. John Wick does not have incredible writing. As in, the plot is pretty bare bones. The dialogue is just kind of, okay, there's some dialogue, sure. But the action in John Wick is so slick and so good that it's just like, holy shit, John Wick, give me more. You know? Fast and the Furious, you know, a different kind of slick and a different kind of cool, I guess. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. But Fast and Furious movies are not known for their dialogue or writing or stuff like that. Whereas, you know, a lot of Marvel movies, you know, people like Marvel movies not just because of the action or just because of the characters. You know, people like it because of the writing involved. This is evidenced by people's reactions to Batman versus Superman and stuff like that. You know, you can't just have spectacle. You know, John Wick is not just spectacle. And even Fast and the Furious, it has a lot of spectacle, but it's refined to a certain sense. XXX Return of Xander Cage lacks that refinement. XXX is Fast and the Furious without the production values, I guess. I mean, it's, for effects, I guess, it's fine. But it lacks the characters, which, you know, it's basically just a first film, more or less. You know, there's no establishment for all these different characters like Fast and Furious. You know, we've been with this cast of characters for a while. But, like, still, when me and my friends will discuss the Fast and Furious series, it's like, you can just mention all these moments from different films. It's just like, yeah, I remember that. Holy shit! Like, it's still just like, it's so ridiculous, it's impossible, but it's just so entertaining that you don't mind. Like when they drove a car across 2 buildings, or when he did that insane leap to like save Michelle Rodriguez's life, or when they drove a safe around a city. Like, it's just so ridiculous. But it's good. It's kind of hard to explain why it works in those films and why it's so memorable, but the stuff in Return of Xander Cage is just like whatever. I guess in a sense, Return of Xander Cage doesn't really ever reach those heights of spectacle. You'd think it would. But I'm already forgetting just some of the stunts that happen. He rides a motorcycle through a wave, which was featured in like posters and trailers and things like that. And leading up to the movie, that's what my friends and I talked about. I was like, okay, he rides a fucking motorcycle through a wave. How the hell does that work? But really, in the film, it doesn't end up being that spectacular. It's just kind of like, okay, I guess. And it doesn't last very long, and then it's over, and it's like, well, all right. Back to the bad writing and bad acting. Yeah, there's bad acting in the film, which surprised me. Okay. Not from Vin, of course, but... what else happens in the movie? Yeah, there isn't that much... Just... Compared to, like, the recent Fast and Furious movies, there isn't that much of that kind of shit going on. There is some fight scenes, and Donnie Yen is in the movie, and Donnie Yen, of course, if you're into martial arts, Donnie Yen is pretty great. And Donnie Yen's fight scenes in this movie were far more exciting than the recent Star Wars movie. And I know he wasn't really... It was kind of different in the Star Wars film, I get that. But he really got to kind of show off some martial arts in this one. And, yeah, there was some good stuff going on from Donnie Yen. And, there were some couple interesting fight sequences. Vin Diesel had a fight, and a sequence where they were in a plane and they were all kind of weightless and stuff like that. And that was pretty interesting. And then he, like, jumped out of the plane and he, like, landed on, like, this package, and there was, like, a parachute, and there was no way he could have survived, so I guess that was some spectacle. Overall, what I'm saying is the movie is okay. If you really love Fast and the Furious and you love Vin Diesel, you probably should check it out. Most likely because you can tolerate just kind of that insanity. But if you don't like any of that, it's not going to... This does not do anything for the action genre whatsoever. I don't think I would ever watch it again, because if I'm going to sit down for an action movie, it's either going to be a Marvel-type movie, or a Fast movie, or a John Wick, or a Commando, go old school, something like that. I don't know if I'll ever feel an urge to watch a somewhat subpar, crazy action movie. I don't really have those kind of urges. But, yeah. Tuesday, we're going to see Resident Evil, I think. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. I've not... Oh, man. Like, this is like the 7th, I think, or maybe the 6th. I have not rewatched any of the ones after 3. I saw them all in the theaters, every single one. But I haven't rewatched any after 3. So they all blend together. Leon Kennedy is in one of them. Ada Wong, I think, is in one of them. Wesker is in multiple. There's zombies. I don't know. But anyways, I guess we've reached an hour. So that will wrap things up. Check out Artifacts Middle-earth tomorrow. Check out Neo Let's Play coming on Tuesday. That should be pretty interesting. Good things on the way. My name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.